What I want to talk about now is because I want to be respectful of your time, and also I'm afraid Zoom's going to kick us out because I think I told you at the beginning, I always try to go 10, 15 minutes, and I just love talking wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And is like blocked me now from after doing the lockdown session with him. It was like an hour 10, but heck of a nice guy. What has been, now I know what you've been doing, but I want the fans, especially our fans in the United Kingdom. You and Brian, the bouncers, have started doing some things during this pandemic. What have you been up to, first of all, in the pandemic? How do you keep yourself in the wrestling frame of mind? If we go all the way back to March, where it was just, okay, everything's at a freezing halt. What did you do
So
to kind of
when
stay
everything
in?
happened, we were actually in Vegas. We were supposed to have a pay-per-view and TV that weekend for Ring of Honor. This is a weird story. This is how crazy this pandemic is. So I left Milwaukee in the morning. I had a layover in Atlanta. So I landed in Atlanta, and everything's fine. Everything's normal at this point in time. On my flight was Jay Lethal, Will Ferrara, Amy Rose, and Brian Johnson in my layover. So you know how it is. You get to your gate, you see some people you know, you start shooting the shit. So we're talking and stuff and get on our flight. Now it's a 4-hour flight from Atlanta to Vegas. As soon as my phone gets reception again, my phone's going crazy and it's Malonis. And it's missed call, missed call. And normally he just texts me, especially when it's like travel days. It's, hey, my flight's delayed, or hey, I'm here. You know, we room together, so this is the room or whatever. Very rarely calls me. So I call him. I said, what's up, man? He goes, they canceled me. I said, what do you mean they canceled you? He says, I was actually 10 minutes away from the airport when they called and canceled my flight. I guess the shows are all canceled. And so right away you start asking the people, hey, what's going on? I heard this was shows are canceled. Lethal, who's a true locker room leader, I went to him right away. I said, man, what is going on? He says, I don't know. I'll find out. Will Ferrara, who's he runs Gorilla for us now, he's on the phone trying to figure out. We're like, we don't know what's going on. So we got an email saying, go to Sam's Town, that's where the hotel is, and check in. You'll be informed there. So we go, we check in, and we find out everything's canceled. People that weren't there yet, their flights are canceled. They were told to stay home. If you were in Vegas and you wanted to go home, you had to talk to our travel guy, Todd, who would arrange for you to get home. If you needed a flight change, whatever. And Todd handled it amazingly because we had UK guys over there. We had Australian guys. We didn't know if they were shutting down international travel. I mean, you got to think about it. When it first happened, nobody knows what's going on. And Ring of Honor ended up having a meeting. We filmed some empty arena matches. And then they're like, just take this as a paid vacation. It was St. Patrick's Day. So as a locker room, we all got together and we just kind of celebrated. You know, we don't know if this is what's happening, but let's have a good time. So now you get home and you find out everything's canceled because that was like, we're getting ready for Supercard of Honor, which is a great weekend. And none of us know if that show's happening or not. And then they announce it's canceled. So it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Like, and Ring of Honor came up with a plan where they weren't going to run empty arena shows. They didn't like the way they looked on camera. They didn't like the way they felt. So if you had any ideas as talent, that's the cool thing about Ring of Honor. If you have creative ideas, bring it to them. So Brian had pitched the happy hour idea for our live shows because we were banged up and we wanted to figure out a way for us to be on the shows but not have to bump as much because with the schedule we had, we were real banged up. And they had shot it down for the live show. So we had a big Zoom meeting as a company, and I brought it up again. I said, what if Brian and I did these things over Zoom? And Ring of Honor's like, film one, see how it goes. If it's good, keep going. So we filmed it with Martina, and it just skyrocketed. It got some of the most views on Ring of Honor social media. I think it had 10,000 views in the first day, you know. And they're like, this is what you guys are going to do. So Brian and I have been filming these happy hours with the roster and sending them in. And the views are all like just completely off the charts. It's able for us to creatively get stuff out. When we were in New Hampshire, we filmed stuff with Vincent to help his storyline with Matt Taven. Because there's really no storylines going on right now. The only one going on is Taven and Vinny. So with happy hour, we're able to get some of the roster on our shows, and people don't forget our characters, you know. And the whole gimmick is that we're trying to do an interview segment, but we're so bad at it, we never get through the full interview. Something always happens, and you know, that's how we've been keeping busy. And then Ring of Honor keeps us busy with like trivia night. We just did a newlyweds game with tag teams, where how well do you know your tag team partner? That's gonna be
That's
coming up.
cool.
Yeah. We've been doing role play of honor, where it's a bunch of the roster playing Dungeons and Dragons. I was doing a daily vlog for a little bit, just showing people what I'm doing here at home with my family and stuff. And it's trying to be creative in a safe way. And Ring of Honor is really encouraging of us to do that. And then when things started opening up again, I hit up Frankie DeFalco at the Thumpers Den, and I said, "Hey, can I get a key? You know, it'll just be me, but I gotta get this ring rust off, you know." So I was going in. I still am going in there 2 or 3 days a week, hitting the ropes and taking bumps and just trying to be active in the ring, because you never know when Ring of Honor is gonna fly us out for a show, you know.
Very cool. You were involved. It can be let everybody can know now. You and I, along with Tiny Love, were judging a promo battle in Wisconsin. So we got involved with a lot of different things. I was
That was cool too, because I love teaching and I love training. I've taken this last year, I've taken a step back because Ring of Honor was becoming so busy for me, and I wanted to focus on my career. But I love training new talent, and I have a knack for it. I have a couple guys that you've interviewed yourself that I've trained, and they're making a name for themselves. So when Tiny reached out to me for the promo thing, I loved it because it was able where I'm able to train and critique and you know, and I had to tell people right off the bat. I don't know if you had to do this too as a judge, but this is not a personal attack on you. This is a critique. This is what I think you could do better. This is advice I've gotten from Bully Ray, from you know, Ric Flair, from some of the best promo guys in the business, that when I'm at TV and I'm doing my promos, they step in and say, "That was good, but what if?" And now it's just me passing it on, you know, Harley and all that. So I had to tell that right off to these guys, because you know, some wrestlers, they get butthurt, and
there was some sensitivity in that one.
yeah, and I'm trying to explain to these guys, I'm not personally attacking you. If you want me to personally attack you, I could, but no, this is to make you better. And you don't have to take my opinion as gospel. That's the cool thing about wrestling, is you take a little from here, a little from here, a little from here, throw it in a pot, make it your own. I said, Tiny and Justin, they're judges too. They're going to give you critiques that are completely different than mine. Take what you like from them, take what you like from me, put it together, and be better. You know, and when we got to the end there, they were some really good promos, and I was really happy to say, good, you guys are taking the critiques from the judges and from the fans, you're applying them, and now look, you're better at it.
Yeah, Kodiak jumps out in my mind.
I had no idea who Kodiak was going into this. And I played this whole thing as, I don't know anybody in this, even my students. I don't know who you are. I'm a fan. Talk me into the seats. I had
Take
never
goodbye
met,
ticket.
yeah, I had never met Kodiak to this day. And after he got eliminated, I actually messaged him, and I messaged Tiny, and I told my wife, I now want to watch this kid wrestle. I now want to either have a match against this kid or watch him wrestle, because he made me a fan of Kodiak just by talking. And I never met him before this whole, I don't know his back. I didn't know his back. I now know his backstory because I've been helping him. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he came out of nowhere, and he impressed me enough where now I want to do something, you know, and I want to help the kid.
My favorite Kodiak story is the first time I met him or knew anything about him was last October. I was on a show, Tiny's Wrestling for a Cause, and they had a fans bring a weapon match in, and it was like 5-on-5 of us. And I swear to God, I Bruiser, I thought a gunshot went off. Kodiak hit Ethan Matthews over the back with a canoe paddle.
Yeah,
And
those
I'm
hurt.
like, oh, but the long ways on his back. And so he had from like the small of his back all the way up, it was already black and blue within seconds. And I'm like, man.
Ethan
Yeah.
Matthews is another guy that I'd never known before this tournament, because he had started wrestling for Bruce City after I'd left and had been on the road a lot. and everybody was talking about him. So finally, I get to see these promos he's doing, and I became a fan of him. And now I've wrestled for ICW, and I've also gone to Bruce City shows just to help out. And he every day, every time I see him, he comes up, give me advice, tell me this, and it was all because of that promo battle. I was trying to explain to guys, this is your chance, and I think you remember me saying it right in the beginning. You don't know who's watching these, and the way you act reflects on you. And there's a couple Ring of Honor guys. Vincent, actually, whose shirt I'm wearing, took Tyler Sullivan under his wing. He saw Tyler Sullivan do a couple promos and really liked it and reached out to me. He goes, hey, do you know this kid? I says, yeah, he's actually a kid that I helped train. And he's like, I want to work with him. I think I can help him. And to this day, they talk on the phone once a week about character stuff. All because you never know who's watching, man. You know what I mean? Tyler had sent me a video online. Vinny happened to see it. I want to know more about this kid. I hooked him up, and now look at it. You know what I mean? Like, you never know.
Yeah, no, that's great. I don't want to get your opinion on something else. I think we share a very similar opinion. In the state of Wisconsin, we're pretty deep. We've got a lot of great guys, a lot of great talent, a lot of them up and coming. But I think we're set pretty good shape here in Wisconsin. I like a lot of what I see and have seen. I will talk about this, the return of wrestling in Wisconsin, which happened in June. I went to WPW in Green Bay because it's close enough for me. And, man, I thought they were going to have a battle royal. It was like one of those, hey, everybody has shown up from the four corners of the state almost. But it was really, man, it was so good to just be in the ambiance of professional wrestling again and to see all the guys I haven't seen for such a long time. Now, did you return? Was your first return back with the ICW?
Yeah. So with my Ring of Honor contract, I'm able to do some indies. And before the lockdown, I was real limited on because I was so busy with Ring of Honor and I wanted to stay healthy. And Ring of Honor pays me really well. But when the lockdown happened, I'm really good friends with Dysfunction. We go way back. And he had reached out to me and said, hey, what's your Ring of Honor deal? And I told him, I said, I'm not really doing a lot of indies. Probably not going to do any more, because Ring of Honor takes care of me. And he says, well, I'm going to ask you a favor. My first show back, these fans are craving it. And like you said, it's the ambiance of wrestling. He goes, you're kind of a local legend. You're one of those guys that made it. Silas can't do it because he's exclusive. How much will it take for you to get me in here? And I says, you know what, man, let's work out a 3-show deal. And we'll work. We were able to come up with something. And then I was able to do his show for him. And it felt so good, and the fans really reciprocated the feelings that I had where I missed you guys. And it's like, oh, hey, we missed you too. You know what I mean? And it was really good to get back out in front of an indie crowd and wrestle and stuff. And, so I'm doing another ICW date for him. I'm doing 2 more ICW dates, and that's all I'm doing for indies. I've been going, like I said, to the Thumpers then to keep in ring shape, but I want to be ready for when Ring of Honor is back. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was just cool. Like, I wanted to get out in front of the fans. And, like, I've gone to Bruce City when Frank ran again. I went to that show, and I just did a meet and greet. Frank let me do a meet and greet, which was cool to see the fans too. But they all wanted me to wrestle. And I tried to explain to them, like, it's very limited what I can do, but you can come here to see me, And Kurt said he's sold out already for his next show. So
I was looking forward to catching you up. Yeah. I was looking forward to catching you up here in Merrill. I know that with Great Lakes got delayed.
I was excited for that because I was born in Merrill. So
that's what I was going to ask you. They were calling you from Merrill, Wisconsin. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was born in Wausau, and then my grandparents lived in Wausau. My sister actually still lives in Wausau. And so when they reached out to me, I was like, yeah, I definitely would do that. That'd be cool. I haven't seen my sister in a while. I said, here's my price. They agreed to it. And then he texted me and said, no, we're not doing that anymore because of the COVID, and Merrill was all weird. And I was like, oh, that sucks. So
here's the thing about up here. I probably shouldn't say this on camera because somebody's going to jump in here, but since I got back, nobody runs.
Yeah.
The guy we shall not be named was running up here and doing a real shitty job of it. In
Yeah.
fact, when they started running, I said, "Hey, I'm just a guy. I'm back. I haven't wrestled for a while, but if you need somebody to hang posters, flyers, I'm up here."
Yeah.
2, 3 days before the show, I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm old school. I guess we don't do that anymore. We just advertise on the internet." But the fans up here are absolutely rabid and love their wrestling, because the last time, my hometown is Rhinelander,
Okay.
and the
Yep.
last time anybody had run a show was 1988. It was Vergania,
Yep.
to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So we got great, and I've talked to a lot of people that want to do, hey, we'll pay. How much does it cost to bring it in for this and that? So there's, I think you would have been pleasantly surprised at the crowd reaction, and the crowd in Merrill would have been
Yeah.
awesome.
And I've wrestled up there before, and I've always gotten good reactions. And Ring of Honor, I've always told Ring of Honor, hey, if you want to, because they always do the loop where it's Milwaukee, Chicago, St. Louis. I said, if you really want to make a lot of money, do like Minneapolis, Wausau, or Stevens Point, Milwaukee, Chicago, St. Louis. I said, you can make a whole week of that. And I said, every single show I guarantee will sell out, because people from Stevens Point will drive to Minneapolis. People from Minneapolis will drive to Stevens Point. Stevens Point will drive to Milwaukee. You know what I mean? And then you're constantly getting this whole thing. And you know, I just kind of had like I always called it the Wisconsin Death Trip after Static X. But, you know, you could do that whole thing from starting from Minneapolis, finishing in St. Louis, you know what I mean? And literally just straight down. And COVID happened. So,
Yeah.
like,
What people don't understand, I think what you and I do, being up here, there's really nothing north of Wausau, but there's all these
right.
towns of 10,000, 5,000. There's a lot of wrestling fans hidden there that a drive to Stevens Point is nothing.
Yep.
To
Yeah.
see some stars of Ring of Honor, you guys could pack the Quant Field House at
Yep.
Stevens Point. And
Yep.
if that ever comes to fruition, my man, I will hang posters and do flyers for you, because I'm up here.
Well, they
So
got the bug in the ear. I pitched that before COVID happened, because they were talking about going back to Minneapolis, and then guys were complaining about the drive. I said, I could split that drive up, man. I
yeah,
know I'm going.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, a couple more questions, because I want to be respectful of the time.
Yep.
Do you have any, not that you can give us any insight, but do you have any maybe gut feeling of when maybe Ring of Honor begins to start crawling back in? Or is that something that, because I know when I talked to Matt Taven, he was like, hey, we're making sure everybody's healthy. We're doing everything very cautious. But is there any, have the talks started to increase at all?
Yeah, talks have been starting. What they're trying to find out right now is testing. They're trying to find a cheap way to test everybody. And the ideas that they're coming up with is, we'll be wherever we film, we'll be there for at least a week to 2 weeks, because they want to fly us in, test us, quarantine us, test us again, do the shows, then test us before we leave. So they're trying to find a cheap way of testing right now. And they want to do, when we come back, they don't just want to do one show. They want to film a bunch of shows. So it'll be literally 4 days of shows, you know, 2 or 3 days of testing time, so that's why they're looking at this big time frame. They haven't given us any time frame yet. They told us to give us 30 days notice before they did, so that way we all can get ring shape and everything. We have a weekly Zoom meeting with the office, and they always give us updates. Ring of Honor's been really good with us as far as being transparent. You know, we were supposed to go in July. We were supposed to do tapings. And then the second wave, I guess is what they're calling it now, hit. So they canceled it. So now they're like, okay, maybe August. Well, you know, so it's all just waiting. Their number one priority is safety. And I appreciate that, being a family man, that my company wants me to be safe. You know, they're still taking care of us financially. They check on us. Like I said, we have the weekly Zoom meetings. But I had a real bad mental day a few weeks ago. I was bummed out, man. Like, the whole speaking out thing happened. COVID happened. Guys that I thought were great were pieces of crap. And I just got bummed. You know what I mean? It was one of those days where you just don't want to get out of bed. And I kind of tweeted out, you know, bad mental day. Right away, Ring of Honor office is calling me. What do we need to do? Do you need to see somebody? How do we help you? I had the roster calling me, checking on me, and I wasn't suicidal. It was just, I was having a bad day. But that was awesome because there's this company, and it was office guys calling me too. It wasn't talent, it was office. And they're just calling to check up, make sure you're doing okay. And we have these weekly Zoom meetings, they right away, hey, is everybody okay? Does anything need to be addressed? And they're real good about it. And then, like I said, financially, they're taking care of us. So I feel real respected in that way. And their number one priority is safety. They want to make sure that we can do shows. They know our fans want us to wrestle. And trust me, that first show back is going to be amazing. But their bottom line is safety.
That's great. I mean, to work for a company that even the office guys are going, hey, how you doing? What can we do? I mean, that's got to make you feel a little better. I know that speaking out movement. Now, I always try to keep it very positive here on the lockdown sessions, but that was rough
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Like you said, when you find out people that you respected were pieces of shit, and then I kind of went on. I was lucky enough to be a guest on a podcast, and I went on a tear about protecting the business, because it
Yeah.
used to mean we need to protect the business, what we do, and keep it from the fans and the marks. Now I'm like, it's almost up to the few of us that are in and around the business, like you in the business, me around the business, and the fans to kind of protect the business from. Because one of the things that really stuck out to me the last few years is back when you and I broke in, it was like a $5,000 deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see people break, hey, just give me like $500. I was trained. I always said, even like a few years ago, I'm like, wait, who broke you in?
Yeah.
Because then I would get to, well, who broke them in? And I'm going back 5 different people before I get any recognizable name.
Yeah.
And I've just seen too many, and then anybody that can afford a ring can call themselves a promoter some places.
And that
And
needs to
now I've
stop.
got a ring. I'll train you for $500, but guess what? I'm the champ, and
Yeah.
I go out and do stupid shit. And now all the green kids go, whoa, if I want to get anywhere, I guess I got to be just as stupid as this guy.
Yeah. And
So
that
I
needs
was
to
on.
stop. I've been a big advocate that because people ask me all the time, I want to be a pro wrestler. What do I do? I said, the first thing you do is you find a school and you trace its lineage back. Where does the lineage go? Because every wrestler has a lineage. For instance, myself, there's me trained by Harley Race and Trevor Adonis. Well, Harley Race, I think, holds a little bit of water in wrestling. I don't know, but but even when you go to Trevor, yeah, Trevor was trained by Tom Stone. Tom Stone's the godfather of Wisconsin wrestling. You can go back and see how it was. And I always tell the Thumpers Den students they're lucky because that school has a long lineage of good professional wrestling. And when we train at the Thumpers Den, it's not just what you do in the ring. It's promos. It's locker room etiquette. It's how to act in public. It's how not to be a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Because yeah, you might not be in the spotlight right now, but someday you're going to be. So your social media has to be clean. I can off the top of my head list 5 people that did not get a job with Ring of Honor, TNA, or WWE because they went back and looked at their social media history, and there was racial slurs, homophobic slurs, abuse slur, whatever. You know what I mean? They didn't get a job, and I try to explain to these students, you guys, this is your dream. You're putting your bodies through hell. Here's how you can protect yourself. Here's how you just don't be a scumbag. And that's how I think protecting the business. And anybody that asks me about that, I say right away, look at that school and look at their lineage. Look at how it goes back. Monster Factory is a great school, but that goes all the way back to Larry Sharp, who was probably the most famous job guy in wrestling. And then you look at the talent it's pumped out. Bam Bam Bigelow, Chris Candido, Balls Mahoney. You can even go, the Big Show went there. You can go to current guys like Punishment Martinez, who is Archer of Infamy, Damian Priest. You know what I mean? Like there's a lineage there. You go to Team 3D Academy. Right there, it's Bubba and Devon. But then you go back, they're trained by Johnny Rods, who is one of the most famous trainers in the business. You go to the academy with Ken Anderson, trained by Eddie Sharkey, who you're familiar with. You know what I mean? Like every reputable school will have a lineage, and it's going to cost you a little bit. But you know what? You get what you pay for. You know, I always believe that. And I try to tell promoters that too. I charge X amount of dollars, but I'm bringing you X amount of stuff. What is Joe Blow that's wrestling for free bringing you besides a body? If he values himself at $0, what does he bring to your company? What does he bring to your roster? You know what I mean? I always tell my students, you know, don't work for free because you're valuing yourself at free then. You know what I mean? But then again, you're a year in the business and you're not going to charge $300 because you're not bringing $300 worth, you know what I mean? So I try to teach them that fine line, you know, and that's where the business part of it comes in. That's where negotiation comes in. That's where, you know, and then I tell them too, when you're with fans, remember they're fans. You be nice to them, you treat them good. You're a heel, so you standoffish, but you don't go abuse them. You know what I mean? This girl might be into you, but it's a one night thing. Do you really want that? You know what I mean? It's not like back in the day where you could have girls every night in a different city. We didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have cell phones with cameras. You know what I mean? In a second, it couldn't be, oh, Beer City Bruiser was with so-and-so cheating on his wife, and it's on Twitter now. Do you know what I mean? And now not only do I look bad, my wife looks bad, and Ring of Honor looks bad. And then every student I've trained looks bad,
Yeah,
you know?
so one of my pet peeves is going to a show. I love to go to a show and sit in the crowd. Love to just be able to kick back and watch. But even on those shows, I always watch the green kids that have to come out in their trunks and walk around before the show. And I'm like, all you want is somebody to go, oh, are you a wrestler? And that drives me absolutely insane because I
Me too.
remember going to AWA shows and going, okay, I hope I can meet Greg Gagne. I hope I can meet Wahoo McDaniel. And they did it at like an intermission, and you could go up and meet them. But I didn't see them, and I especially didn't see Knobs and Sags when they're here in Rhinelander. I saw them come out to the ring and go back, and that was it.
Yep.
Just old school,
And
because that
I
was
always,
that mystique.
yeah, and I always tell the kids that I train too, you're a business now. Once you start training, you're a business. Like Beer City Bruiser is a product, and I'm going to invest in my business. So I spent X amount of dollars on training. I spend a ton of money on gear. I get yelled at by my wife because I'm spending so much on gear. You know what I mean? Wrestling boots, because I want, if I'm going to present myself out to this crowd, I'm a product. I want them to see that. If I'm just walking around before the show happens, you know, nobody's going to want to buy this product, you know. But like you said, if I come out at intermission or I come out afterwards, you know, I get tweets and stuff all the time about people wanting to have a beer with me. You know, I'm more than happy to have a beer with that fan, but they're going to do it when I want to have that beer with them. You know what I mean? And it's going to be one beer, and then I'm going to move on because that's what, again, I always go back to him. But Brody never stayed in one place too long, and that's why he has that mystique about him. You know what I mean? Can you imagine nowadays seeing Bruiser Brody sitting at a gimmick table? You know, like, you know what I mean? It blows your mind, you know? So my thinking is still that old school thinking with a new twist on it, you know? Heels can't be heels like they used to be. Like a kid wants an autograph, you slam mashed potatoes in his face. You can't do that. But a heel can still be a heel where Doc Simmons, I taught him this. When Doc turned heel, he's called the greatest heavyweight of all time. So we're at a fair show. He has the most heat out of everyone on the card, just white hot heat. And then he walks to the merch table and he's taking pictures with the fans and signing autographs. What are you doing, man? He says, well, I'm making some money. I says, no, I'm all about you making money, but you're nice. I said, when they come up and they ask for your picture, make them tell you you're the greatest ever. Make them say it. Make them yell it as loud as they can. And you won't take that picture with them until they say it. Well, I don't know. I go, Doc, I guarantee you're not going to lose any money, but you're also not going to lose any heat. And so he started doing that. And he comes back. He's like, how'd you know that would work? I go, it's wrestling, man. These people don't know Dre. They know Doc. So if you're making them say that you're the greatest wrestler of all time and then taking a picture, yeah, they think you're a dick. But guess what? Doc Simmons is a dick, you know? And he still made the same amount of money he would have just been, you know, but he was, you know, he kept his product as the heel. He was still a heel. So the next day when he came out, white hot heat still, you know? So it's that old school mentality with a
Yep.
new school twist.
With those little things. Now, you talked about sitting at a gimmick table. Now, with wrestling travel, one of the things we do, we take fans from around the world. This is my plug part of the program in case you haven't caught that. We're based out of the UK, but we take fans from all over the world to their favorite wrestling matches, events. The last one we were able to do before everything hit was Wrestle Kingdom in Japan. But when we bring in stars like yourself with these different, we're there for a week long. We might bring in a Beer City Bruiser for a private party with our fans. And that's the one thing we do. We always want to bring in wrestling greatness, but I don't want you sitting at a gimmick table. I want you getting involved and active. And I mentioned off camera, we had James Storm last year in New York coming in and having a couple Coors Light with the fans.
Yep.
And James is going, what do I have to do? I'm like, trust me, all you're going to get is a bunch of fist bumps and people that want to buy you a beer and have a picture. So we pride ourselves on doing stuff that's just not the normal. Like, hey, you're not going to come and have a boring gimmick table. You're going to have an experience. Not just the fans, but the wrestlers we bring in. My question around this is, what are some of, besides Milwaukee, some of your favorite cities that you've been able to wrestle in that this great sport has taken you to? I know we talked, you have not been to the United Kingdom yet.
Right. Nope. That was on my bucket list. We were actually supposed to go before COVID. And the cool thing too that I really like is they put Session Martina with us, and she's from Ireland. And so we've really been bugging her like, hey, because my dream right now, you have a bucket list. My bucket list is full, but I had a new one. I want to have a pint of beer in an actual pub in in England and Ireland. You know what I mean? Like, when you think of drinking, you think of a pub, and I'm talking those pint glasses
Yep.
and Martina's like, oh yeah, we'll come over and we'll get you a pint, and some of my favorite places, Japan was always great. I love Japan. The fans there are amazing. I can't wait to go back. New York City's always been really fun, because there's always something happening in New York. Trying to think. St. Louis was always a good time just because I'm familiar with it. I've been a fan of Texas also, San Antonio. When we did our stuff in San Antonio and Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, all that, man, those fans are hardcore, and hanging out and drinking with them was a fun time, many a nights of drinking, doing the show, going out, hanging out, and then the sun's coming up. You're like, oh, I gotta get in the car, and drive to the next town. I'm trying to think. Milwaukee, of course. I love Milwaukee. It's my home. It'll always be my home. And I always have a good time here. It's easier for me to name places I don't like going.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Those are travel portion. Now, speaking of Texas, you're an old school guy like me. Do you go back and look at the old tapes? Like World Class is something that still entertains the hell out of me today.
Oh yeah.
If I go back and watch it, and it's just outstanding. So imagine being in Texas. I knew a guy from Dallas.
In fact, before I jumped on here, I was watching the heel turn where it's Flair versus Von Erich in the cage with Michael Hayes. You know what I mean? Then Bam Bam comes the door. In fact, I just finished that before I jumped on with you. So
great. Freebirds and Von Erichs, man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I had reached out. We started doing this show right around WrestleMania. We were going to be a sponsor of the pub crawl with all the money going to Connor's Cure for pediatric cancer. Well, 2 days before Mania, everything shut down. The guys that were doing the pub crawl reached out and said, we're going to do a virtual pub crawl on Twitch. Half of those words didn't make sense to me, but I said, I'm in. Money going out to Red Cross. So I had no sleep. I don't know if you've ever been like this. I got stupid on Twitter. I'm like, F it. I'm going to DM this guy. What's it going to hurt? He's either going to, I'm doing it from my account, so it's not wrestling travel. So he's either going to think, well, this
Right.
guy's an idiot, maniac. And I probably ruined a lot of possible connections, but I reached out to Kevin Von Erich.
Okay.
Because I had this F it. 2 weeks later, hey, Justin, how's it going? It's
Yep.
Kevin Von Erich. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And I got to chat with him a little bit. And I said, I'm doing this interview now because what I started doing the lockdown was I want to pay back to the guys that helped us raise $3,300 to the Red Cross. I want to push the Wisconsin guys, everybody who took 30 seconds out of their time. I want to go, hey, let's do an interview and help them maybe sell a t-shirt, hopefully sell their brand and a ticket. But anyway, Kevin said, how much does it pay? And I said, I tell you what, I've never paid anybody for it. I said, let me know what you would, because at that time I'm like, it's Kevin Von Erich. What is he?
Right.
What does he want? But I said, I know my company might not give me the money, but I might shell it out just because I thought I'll bring some ratings in. Plus, probably Kevin, after seeing me talk to people for an hour, is like, screw that, dude. I don't got 2 hours to talk wrestling with this guy. But what I like to do is I like to talk. But anyway, Kevin never got back to me, but I'm like, hey man, at least I got to talk to you on Twitter, which is cool because not a whole lot of people are gonna get a, hey Justin, how you doing? I'm like, but that's like Nikita Koloff. I interviewed him and I'm going, listen, I'd love to ask you about the best of 7 with Magnum TA, but how sick are you answering that? And I asked him about when he had that face turn with Dusty after Magnum's accident. He said he was just, he actually complimented me on a few of the questions. But the one thing I wanted to get to you, if you hadn't watched the Nikita interview, it's long, might have to zip forward, but I tell him about the time I went down a YouTube hole the night before, and I'm watching Comiskey Park, 1985. Now, in the ring, it's Nikita, Ivan, Barry Darsow, Crusher Khrushchev, and across, it's Von Raschke, the Crusher, and the Bruiser. And he's got a really cool Dick the Bruiser story that goes along with that. And then speaking of Great Lakes Championship Wrestling, Dave Hero brought in Baron Von Raschke last fall.
Yeah.
Dude, 79 years old. Looks like he could still go today.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I see Baron a lot. Now that since I've been with Ring of Honor and they bring us in for, they'll fly me and Brian in for meet and greets and stuff. We're on a lot with these legends, and it's cool because I got to be friends with a lot of them. Like when we did the NWA stuff, we landed and we go to the TV, and right away Ricky and Robert, the Rock and Roll Express, you two in our car, and we spent the whole weekend with the Rock and Roll Express, and by the end of it, I text with them all the time now, and it's like 13-year-old me could see me now, like. You know what I mean? And it's cool because I can call, not only are they colleagues in wrestling, but they're actually friends, Steve Carino, he's a mentor of mine. And I remember going to the rave here in Milwaukee when he wrestled Tajiri and got the table smashed in his face. And now I can, I've heard that story so many times from him because, we go drinking or doing something. And he's, tell me a story, Steve, Bully Ray's another one. Since working with Ring of Honor, he's taken a liking to me and Brian, so he's helped us with our tag team stuff. And I joke with my wife because I call it story time with Bully. But I'll grab him and I'll be like, all right, this building, tell me a story. We do it with PCO also, with Carl, and it's great because now they're friends of mine. You know what I mean? And that's awesome.
I always talk about when you say little kid me, I only saw Nikita Koloff in the magazines, and then I had to catch back up. But to me, it was almost like reading those magazines made everybody bigger.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Than almost seeing them on TV because I'm like, oh, no. I always recall when the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, went to WWE in like late 87, 88. I'm like, I always thought it was Ted DiBiase because that's how my little kid brain sounded out. So it was cool. And then PCO, setting up that interview, I was shitting myself before I did the lockdown session with him because I'm like, dude, if he goes like PCO on me, I'm not gonna be able to understand anything. But yeah, what a legend. And I go, dude, you're doing shit at 50 some years old.
Yeah.
That you weren't doing. I said, I was in Toronto waiting for my boss at Wrestling Travel. He's at a show in New York, and he sends me a clip of him doing a moonsault outside of the ring, and we're both, well, look at this crazy son of a bitch. And he got a kick out of that. So
There was one show that we did where I tweaked my knee, and so I was limping, and Carl had done that top rope bump where he jumps off the top rope to the apron, and the guy moves and he eats it. And so I'm limping afterwards. And I got ice, and Carl walks up. He's like, "Hey, bro, you okay? Like, you're limping a little bit. You okay?" And I go, "Me? you, you, you're 50 some years old. Are you okay?" That's the fun relationship we have, you know, where he's doing, you know, but that's a guy that is a true comeback story, because he'd kind of fallen after his run, he'd fallen off, and then he creates this PCO character, and now he's back on top of the world again. You know what I mean? Like, true comeback story, and
yeah,
it's so
absolutely.
inspiring. And you've talked to him, talking to him, he's an inspiring guy. You know, like, he's so positive and such a good guy, and he's real quick to help you. And I can't talk enough good things about Carl.
Yeah, we push his videos every Monday night for him, and it's our pleasure because he comes up with him and Destro some crazy stuff that I'm
They're
like, what
insane.
is? Yeah,
They're insane.
and it's a great insane.
Yeah,
So I talked about being respectful of your time, and unfortunately, I haven't been. But it's
that's okay.
I've enjoyed every minute of talking to you. My final question is always my most important question that I ask of everybody. How can the fans watching this? How can they keep track of Ring of Honor and the Beer City Bruiser? Do you have a merch store? I know you got cigars. What kind of stuff can we do to keep track of Beer City Bruiser until we can see you back in the ring?
So on Twitter, at BCB Winchester. On Facebook, it's Beer City Bruiser. On Instagram, Beer City Bruiser. If you go to YouTube, it's Beer City Bruiser. If you go to ROHWrestling.com, you can check out all the ROH stuff. And then if you go to ROH Wrestling's YouTube page, that's where you can catch the happy hour. I haven't loaded them up on my YouTube page yet because they want me to keep it on theirs till we get to a certain following, and then I'll load them up on mine. So you'll be able to catch them on both. If you go to prowrestlingtees.com/Beer City Bruiser, you can pick up t-shirts. July is my birthday month, and all I want for my birthday is people to buy my t-shirt and then take a picture and tag me in on Facebook or Twitter so I can see it. And that's all I really want for my birthday. I'm also on Cameo. If you go to Cameo/Beer City Bruiser, I'll do a shout out. I've done a few now. One of them was for a senator in Indiana, which I never thought I'd do that, but I did it, and it was awesome.
That's cool.
Yep. And then Martinez Cigars. It's martinezcigars.com/Beer City Bruiser. You can get the actual cigars I come out to the ring with in Ring of Honor. And then just keep paying attention to all the social media, and that's how you can tell when we'll be back.
Fantastic. Now, unlike PCO, you don't have TikTok yet. Is that correct?
I do have TikTok. It is
Okay.
Beer City Bruiser on TikTok. I forgot about that because the only reason I have TikTok is because Ring of Honor told us we need to get TikTok, and so we did it. And like for some reason, my followers went way up, and I did at ICW. I did the Stone Cold thing where you smash the beers together and you chug them, and I botch it, and I posted it on TikTok, and it got a couple thousand views. So yeah,
I will.
TikTok.
We're in the same thing. The only reason I got TikTok was the company got TikTok. So I just gave you another follower, and I just have wrestling clips, no dances, and one of my clips has over 200,000 views, which is to me really nutty. So
Crazy, isn't it?
yeah, you never know. So hey, I want to thank you for spending so much time with us. I know the fans are really going to appreciate it. They're probably going to have to watch this in like 2 or 3 parts to check it out on our YouTube. But it's been a pleasure, and hopefully we get to maybe catch up with you down the road once we start to return to hopefully normalcy. So, Beer City Bruiser, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Justin.